So you ever have that feeling right in a conversation
Uh-huh.
where you just feel totally seen, like really gotten?
Yeah, definitely. Or the opposite, too, which is maybe more common.
Exactly. Or the flip side, where you share something that feels, I don't know, important, vulnerable even,
Yeah.
and it just lands flat. Or worse, gets completely missed, like you were speaking into a void.
It's such a universal thing, isn't it? That longing for real connection, someone to actually hear the weight behind what you're saying, not just the surface
Right.
words.
It's what makes a chat feel like, well, like a real bond is forming.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly what we're going to dive into today. This isn't going to be just another run-through of, active listening tips, like some kind of dry checklist.
No, not at all. We're actually looking at something deeper, sort of the hidden architecture, how we connect.
Yeah, and we're drawing on some really insightful personal reflections someone shared, which kind of unlock these ideas about having more meaningful conversations.
So our mission here is to really unpack what it means to listen deeply, why it feels so rare sometimes.
And crucially, how you can cultivate more of it in your own life, foster those richer connections, but without feeling totally swamped by, like, information overload.
Exactly. It's a balance.
Okay, so let's unpack this first idea. Think about when you share something personal, something a bit vulnerable maybe. You step outside the usual small talk.
Mm-hmm. That moment of offering something real.
What happens next? Usually, we've kind of pinpointed a few common ways it can go sideways. First, there's what we're calling surface acknowledgement.
Yeah, the quick, cool.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Or the thumbs up emoji. It works as, social grease, keeps things moving.
But it doesn't validate anything, does it? Especially not vulnerability. It just sort of skims over it.
Totally bypasses it. It's polite, maybe, but doesn't engage with the depth at all. It's like a placeholder.
Not a brim.
Perfect way to put it.
Yeah.
Then there's the classic self-shift. You open up.
And suddenly it's about them.
Right. Like within seconds. Maybe they don't even mean to, but your share just becomes a launch pad for their own story.
Yeah, that can feel really invalidating. Like, wait, weren't we talking about my thing?
And the third one is light probing. Asking those sort of socially acceptable but shallow questions.
Like, oh, when did that happen?
Yeah, exactly. It shows they heard something, they're being polite, but it doesn't really invite you to go deeper, does it? It doesn't build much of a bond.
So all these common responses kind of fall short. Which brings us to the key thing. What actually creates that deeper connection?
This is where depth recognition comes in, that rarer level.
Tell me more about that.
It's when someone pauses, they actually recognize that you've shared something vulnerable. They might reflect it back somehow, acknowledge the weight of it, and then, crucially, they ask questions that show they're curious about the why.
Not just the what or when, the why.
Exactly. That's where you feel that resonance. That's where trust starts to build.
Okay, so if that's the goal, why does it feel so uncommon? Why is this depth recognition so rare in just, day-to-day chat?
Good question. There seem to be a few big reasons.
Like what?
Well, first off, just the cognitive load. It takes mental energy, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Deeper listening means you have to slow down, resist jumping in, manage your own thoughts. It's work.
So defaulting to surface level is just easier on the brain, less demanding?
Pretty much. Our brains like efficiency, even in conversation.
Mm.
Second big reason, ego defense.
Tell me about that.
To really engage with someone else's depth, you kind of have to put your own agenda aside. Your need to seem smart or funny or to share your related story.
And that's hard, especially if conversations sometimes feel like a subtle competition for airtime or attention.
Totally. Third, there's often just a skill gap. People might notice a moment of vulnerability.
But they don't know what to do with it.
Exactly. They don't know how to phrase those open-ended questions that affirm and explore gently without feeling like they're prying or being awkward.
Right. It's a delicate balance.
And fourth, you've got cultural norms. Small talk is the default, the safe zone.
Yeah, we're kind of trained for it.
So showing deep curiosity can sometimes feel unusual, maybe even a bit invasive if you don't get the tone right.
Which explains why reaching this level consistently is actually quite rare. It's not the default setting for most interactions.
And doing it well involves this kind of hidden three-part discipline. We could maybe call it emotional craftsmanship.
Ooh, I like that. What are the parts?
That starts with awareness, just noticing when someone shares something with emotional weight.
Okay, tuning into that subtle signal.
Then, control. Managing your own impulse to shift the focus, or minimize it, or offer quick advice. choosing instead to stay present with them.
Resisting the autopilot response.
Right. And finally, reflection and execution. Asking those reinforcing questions that genuinely invite more depth. And maybe even later thinking back, did I actually create a space where they felt seen?
That's a really thoughtful process. It's not just reacting. It's intentionally crafting the interaction. Kind of like that idea of active constructive responding where you're amplifying the positive, but here it's about validating the vulnerable.
Exactly. So zooming out, why does this depth, this craftsmanship, matter so much?
Well, when you offer someone this kind of listening, it's a rare experience for them. Feeling truly heard,
Mm-hmm.
that strengthens the bond between you in a really profound way. Plus, you're modeling a different kind of conversation, maybe influencing the culture around you bit by bit.
And does it do anything for you, the listener?
Absolutely. By noticing and nurturing depth in others, you actually clarify things for yourself, what you value in connection, maybe even aspects of your own identity.
Okay, so beyond just recognizing depth in the moment, there's this bigger idea of having your own sort of personal compass for navigating conversation.
Yeah, especially with people you care about. It's not about having rigid rules, but developing what you might call conversational literacy. Learning to read the undertones, the tone of voice, the purpose behind the chat, the subtle cues people send.
Right. It's a philosophy of engagement, really, being
That-
aware of the why.
Exactly. Is this conversation purely transactional, like your colleague just needs info for a report?
Okay.
Or is it recreational, just casual chat, killing time, light stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it relational? Is someone actually sharing something personal, vulnerable, meaningful, trying to connect on a deeper level?
And knowing the difference helps you calibrate your response,
Yeah.
right? So you don't, like, overinvest emotional energy when it's just transactional.
Precisely. But you also don't miss those invitations for deeper connection when they arise in relational moments.
That makes sense. It's also about picking up on the nonverbal stuff too, isn't it? The subtle signals.
Well, oh, totally. It's like a dance. Your own body language, are you open and available, or are you subtly signaling you're busy or have limits?
Yeah.
And noticing their cues, too. Are they leaning in, wanting to linger, or are they giving off wrap it up vibes?
It's this constant feedback loop, balancing being attentive with respecting time and boundaries.
Mm-hmm. It's subtle but powerful.
There was this brilliant example about testing the waters. Say someone asks how you are,
Okay.
and you give two options. Oh, work is fine, the safe surface answer. Or, actually, I've been spending time making YouTube videos.
Ah, offering something a little more personal, something you care about.
Right. And you watch.
Yeah.
Do they pick the safe topic, work? Which signals they're keeping it light?
Or do they pick you two? Showing they noticed your subtle offer, they're curious.
Exactly. But then there's another layer.
Oh,
How do they ask about YouTube? Was it just a perfunctory, polite question? Or do they ask something thoughtful with follow-up, inviting you to actually share more?
wow, yeah. That distinction is huge. It's the difference between genuine curiosity and just going through the motions.
And that's how you start to gauge, maybe unconsciously at first, if someone values you as a whole person, or if you're just sort of a conversational prop for them.
A prop. Ouch. But true sometimes.
And this ties into noticing lopsided conversations too, doesn't it?
Definitely. If someone consistently centers themselves, asks very little about you, shows minimal curiosity in return.
It starts to feel like you're just a background character in their movie, like an NPC, that term from gaming.
Right.
Yeah.
Not an equal participant in a shared interaction.
So this whole approach, this conversational literacy,
Mm.
why does it matter to cultivate it?
Well, for one, it protects your energy. You learn where to invest your deeper attention and where it's okay to keep things light.
Makes sense. Avoid burnout.
Exactly. It also helps you build more authentic bonds because you're nurturing that depth where you see it's reciprocal and valued.
And maybe most importantly,
It clarifies your relationships. You get a much better sense of who truly sees you and values you as a person versus who might just be interacting out of habit or convenience.
taking this even further, there's this fascinating idea of conversation as ecology of relationship.
I like that phrase. What does it mean?
It suggests that the real depth doesn't just come from the content of what's said, but from the whole environment, the container you provide for the conversation.
So creating a safe space is key, but it's more than just, not being judgmental.
Right. It's described as an active, deliberate practice.
How so?
It involves things like your specific language choices, avoiding phrases that might subtly signal competition, or one-upmanship, or condescension,
Okay, being mindful of the impact of your words.
and showing emotional stability. a calm, grounded presence that helps the other person feel secure enough to open up.
Right, because vulnerability needs safety.
And also offering genuine appreciation, praising or affirming things in a way that models mutual respect, but without, diminishing your own worth in the process.
It's interesting how many people probably don't consciously think about building this container. They focus only on the words,
Exactly. And related to this is another rare skill, reading the unspoken indicators.
going beyond the surface topic.
Way beyond. Most people stick to the topic at hand, but some folks notice patterns. Like if someone keeps circling back to a particular theme in different conversations,
Ah, like a clue that there's something important there for them.
or noticing habits and routines. Sometimes those reveal more about someone's values or struggles than anything they say directly.
True. Actions and patterns often speak louder.
Even noticing indirect disclosures, subtle comments about family stress, or always being tired. They're often windows into a deeper story if you're attuned.
It's like reading between the lines of their life, not just the conversation.
And there's this really insightful meta-conversational shortcut question mentioned. What's something you wish people would ask you about yourself more often?
Wow. That cuts right through the small talk, doesn't it? It's a direct invitation for intimacy.
It really is. This level of awareness can even extend to mapping communication preferences, almost like doing mini anthropology.
What do you mean? Like noticing if someone prefers email over calls?
Yeah, or written versus verbal. Or their introvert-extrovert tendencies, how they might shift their behavior in public versus private settings.
Or even noticing persona layers, like someone who presents a risky image but is secretly quite cautious, or vice versa.
Exactly. It's about understanding their whole context to connect more authentically, meeting them where they are.
Okay, so someone who operates with this level of awareness, this focus on depth, it raises a really interesting question they posed. Do they overvalue depth, or are most people just undervaluing it?
Yeah, is my idea of a deep conversation somehow inflated compared to the norm? Am I expecting too much?
Well, let's think about that. Why do many people default to shallower talk? It's not always because they don't want depth.
Right. We are talking about cognitive bandwidth.
Exactly. Surface chat is just less demanding, especially if you're stressed, tired, or overwhelmed. It's the easier path.
And the cultural training thing, too. Small talk is safe, predictable, low risk.
Depth requires trust. And building trust takes time, energy, and intentional effort that not everyone has or prioritizes in every interaction.
So maybe it's not that others are necessarily shallow. It's more that someone who actively reflects on conversations, analyzes them, becomes unusually self-aware about these dynamics.
Precisely. Your baseline for what feels deep might simply be more developed, more specialized, because you've put in the work to notice these things. It's not inflated, it's just rare.
So I'm not doing too much. I'm just noticing more.
You're noticing the hidden architecture, the underlying structures that make conversations feel safe or connecting or validating. Most people operate within that architecture without ever really seeing it.
Whereas someone doing this kind of analysis is standing back, looking at the architecture, and consciously choosing how to navigate it.
Yes, it's a different level of engagement. A gift, really, even if it sometimes feels like effort.
Okay, this connects to another idea. Systematic depth versus just perceived depth.
How so? Like the Dunning-Kruger effect, maybe.
Kind of. People might overestimate how deep their conversations or thoughts are simply because they haven't encountered what further down or further out even looks like.
Right, so depth isn't some absolute scale, it's relative.
Exactly. What feels incredibly profound to one person might be just a starting point, a local maximum, for someone else who spent more time exploring certain ideas or ways of thinking.
And that baseline gets expanded through things like what? Repetition, education.
Yeah, intentional practice. Reading philosophy or psychology, studying communication, engaging with art. These things give you more conceptual tools.
And creative practice too, right? Like making things games, videos, stories. That forces you to think about structure, empathy, how messages are received.
Absolutely. It creates these producer-consumer feedback loops in your own mind, deepening your understanding of how meaning is made and shared.
Even understanding the ethics involved, like where's the line between healthy persuasion and manipulation? That awareness shapes the kind of depth you aim for.
Which leads to this really key insight. Depth isn't just a line going down. It's more like a network.
A network? How does that work?
Well, there's vertical depth, digging deeper into a single thought, like through journaling or focused reflection.
Okay, go down the rabbit hole.
But there's also horizontal depth, layering different perspectives, making connections across different domains or ideas, using various mediums, talking to different people, seeing how concepts link up.
Ah, connecting the dots across the landscape.
And then there's even meta depth,
Meta depth.
thinking not just about the ideas, but about the conditions that make thinking about them possible. Our culture, technology, societal systems, personal biases. Why do we focus on this and not that?
Wow. Okay, so it's not just digging deep, it's also branching wide and then reflecting on the whole process itself. That's complex.
It is. It's a web, not just a shaft.
So, going back to that overvaluing depth question, maybe others sometimes experience depth inflation. They think they're deep because they haven't seen the rest of the network.
While someone who lives in that complex web might actually underestimate their own practice experience, depth blindness, because it just feels normal to them.
It's a fascinating paradox. Depth isn't a destination, it's this evolving, multi-layered practice. And the very act of reflecting on how depth works is another layer entirely.
It feels like reflecting on this stuff, like the original source material did, isn't about claiming to be deeper than others. It's more about giving form to something invisible.
Yes, that felt tension of being unheard or misunderstood. It's articulating a conversational dissonance that so many people feel, but maybe can't quite name.
We've all had those moments, right? Sharing something vulnerable and getting brushed off.
Or hoping for that follow-up question that just never arrives.
Or feeling like the whole conversation is just people waiting for their turn to talk.
By putting words to that experience so precisely, it helps others go, ah, yes, that's what I've been feeling too. It validates their experience.
So it's less of a rule book and more like a compass.
Exactly. Not a rigid script, but a nuanced foundation. A way to orient yourself in the complex, puzzle-like flow of a real conversation.
And maybe it points towards a hope that more people can learn to listen actively, but not in that robotic checklist way.
But in an embodied, responsive way that truly helps people feel seen.
Which brings us nicely to actually defining active listening more formally. What is it at its core?
Well, basically, it's an intentional way of listening. You're not just passively hearing words. You're fully engaging with the meaning, the emotions, the intentions behind them.
And it's active because it takes real effort, right? Real presence.
Absolutely. Key elements include things like being fully present, putting distractions away, reflecting back what you heard, maybe paraphrasing,
Wow.
validating their feelings, showing curiosity with open-ended questions, using nonverbal cues like nodding or eye contact to show you're engaged.
And, crucially, non-judgment. Avoiding interruptions, not jumping in with unsolicited advice, not immediately shifting the focus back to yourself.
And it's important to know what it isn't. It's not just staying silent. It's not just parroting words back verbatim.
Right, or pretending to listen while you're actually just planning what you'll say next.
Definitely not that. And certainly not using the techniques to manipulate someone. The why matters. It's about building trust, making people feel genuinely valued and seen, uncovering deeper meaning, and ultimately improving relationships.
Okay, but it's not like you apply active listening the exact same way in every situation, is it? It seems like the posture of engagement shifts depending on the context, the sphere you're in.
That's a great point. It absolutely flexes. We can think about integrity and active listening across maybe 4 spheres: personal, private, professional, and public.
Okay, let's break that down. What does it look like in the personal sphere, like just with yourself?
Here, it's really about self-reflection. The practice is choosing reflection over just distracting yourself, maybe journaling, using voice memos, even talking things through with an AI reflection tool.
Asking yourself, what am I really feeling or trying to say here?
Exactly. It builds self-awareness, helps regulate emotions. When this is missing, you might just ignore your own internal signals or get stuck in unproductive thought loops.
Okay, what about the private sphere? With close friends, partners, family.
Safety and trust are paramount here. Active listening shows deep care. It's where you ask those slightly deeper but non-intrusive questions we mentioned, like, what's really been on your mind lately?
Or that great one, what do you wish people asked you more about?
Yes. And it's about creating an environment where silence is okay, where your attention feels unwavering. When it's missing here, well, that's when you get the half-listening while scrolling, the unwanted advice, people feeling unseen by those closest to them.
That hurts. Okay, professional sphere, work, teams, colleagues.
Here, it's often about balancing efficiency with humanity. You need to get things done, but connection still matters.
So what does that look like practically?
Giving quick verbal acknowledgments in meetings or using chat affirmations, paraphrasing someone's contribution to show it landed correctly, gently making space for quieter voices to contribute.
It creates a better collaborative vibe, right? Less intimidating.
Definitely. Without it, you get those dead silent Zoom calls after someone asks a question, or teachers just reading slides without making eye contact, leads to misunderstandings, low morale.
Makes sense. And finally, the public sphere. Social media, large groups, community discussions.
Here, it's less about deep personal intimacy and more about signaling respect and improving the overall quality of the conversation.
How do you actively listen in a public forum?
By doing things like accurately quoting or referencing someone before you respond, modeling respectful disagreement, focusing on the idea, not attacking the person, actively uplifting or pointing to quieter or marginalized perspectives.
Trying to foster a more inclusive space where different views can be heard.
Exactly. Without this, public discourse just degrades into people shouting past each other, everyone waiting for their turn to make their point, with zero actual connection or understanding happening.
So across all these spheres, what's the real difference between just like going through the motions of active listening versus doing it with integrity?
I think it boils down to intention. Surface level or manipulative active listening ultimately asks, what's in it for me? How can I use this?
Okay.
But integrity-based listening asks, how can I listen in a way that makes this other person feel truly seen, understood, and valued as a human being? The focus is genuinely on them.
That feels like a fundamental shift, which leads us to wonder, what are the deeper forces that make this kind of integrity-based listening so hard sometimes? It's more than just not having the skill, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. One big factor is ego and our tendency towards performance and communication.
Wanting to sound smart or clever.
Yeah, waiting for our turn to jump in with our brilliant insight or witty remark. Taming that ego, choosing presence over performance, is maybe the first step towards real listening.
Then there's just burnout and exhaustion, right?
Absolutely. Listening well takes energy. When we're stressed or depleted, our default is autopilot, just nodding along without really taking anything in. So genuine listening requires conscious energy regulation.
And maybe there's a cultural element too.
I think so. Modern culture often seems to reward individual expression, quick judgments, hot takes, more than patient understanding or building community.
So active listening becomes almost countercultural, resisting that pull towards polarization or just talking past each other.
It really can feel that way. And then there's the tough stuff. Numbness, resentment, avoidance. When conversations get difficult or when we feel hurt or resentful towards someone, the temptation is huge to just shut down, distract ourselves, ghost them.
Yeah.
Choosing to stay present and listen with integrity, even in that discomfort, that's a real discipline. It's choosing connection, trying to find common ground, even when it's hard.
It all seems to point to this fundamental idea.
Yeah.
Why listening before talking is so critical.
Think about it. Talking is output. It's self-expression, putting your ideas out there. Listening is input. It's making space. It's gathering understanding. It's shaping the conditions for something mutual to happen.
So if you skip the listening part,
you just get two monologues happening in parallel, maybe intersecting occasionally, but not really connecting. It's performance, not dialogue.
but starting with listening, that creates the possibility of real dialogue.
Exactly. Where meaning isn't just delivered, it's actually co-created between the people involved. That's where the magic happens.
Okay, so bringing this all together for everyone listening, what are the main takeaways from this deep dive?
Let's recap. First, active listening. It's way more than just nodding or repeating words back.
Right, it's that intentional posture. Presence, curiosity, validation, showing someone you see them, not just hear sounds.
Second, remember those spheres. Conversations happen differently depending on whether it's personal, private, professional, or public. Your listening needs to adapt.
You listen to yourself differently than you listen to your partner or your boss or someone on social media. Integrity looks slightly different in each case.
Third, the things that break listening are often hidden. It's the ego wanting to perform. It's burnout making autopilot tempting.
It's a culture that sometimes rewards snark over care. And it's our own avoidance when things get tough. These things numb connection.
Fourth, and this is huge, listening comes before talking. Most of us focus on what we want to say. Far fewer focus on how to first create the conditions for real understanding. Listening builds that foundation.
Fifth, integrity. Makes all the difference. You can do the techniques of active listening for selfish reasons, but genuine listening comes from a place of honoring the other person's humanity, not what's in it for me calculation.
And finally, remember that every conversation is unique. It's like a puzzle unfolding in real time. There's no perfect script.
You just have to stay present, be willing to adapt, and bring your genuine attention. It's not about winning or being the deepest. It's about fostering that real connection moment by moment.
So think of active listening less like a checklist, more like that compass we talked about. It guides your orientation.
It requires awareness of yourself, the other person, the context. It requires integrity, a genuine intention to connect, and resilience, pushing back against all those forces, pulling us towards distraction and ego.
But when you practice it with that kind of care, it really can transform conversations. They stop being just exchanges of information and start becoming these spaces, sometimes even sacred spaces, where you and others feel genuinely seen, heard, and connected.
That's how we cultivate a culture of deeper human connection, really. One thoughtful, present interaction at a time.